I wanted to share some of my favorite books I've been reading and just talk about books and literature with you guys since it's something I enjoy and I like to talk about it. But first, before I start talking about my favorite books, I want to talk about my current read, which is Babel. I don't know how to say it, but I originally picked this book because everyone was raving about it and how it's like a dark academia book, and this is like a type of genre that I really enjoy and appreciate. So I thought maybe I should read it and should pick it up. So one day I was with my friend out and I found this book. So I thought maybe why not give it a shot now? So um, obviously it's my current read, so I haven't finished it yet, and I'm like a fourth in the book, and I'm really enjoying it. It's like so far now, I'm not gonna do any spoilers, but honestly, Robin Swift was basically, um, how do we say it? He was an orphan from Canton, and this guy, this professor, whatever, he found him and he helped him escape Canton and give him a living under the condition that he will be taking classes and learning Latin, Greek, and like a lot of stuff like that to enter Oxford, to enter Oxford and to be a babbler. I think that's what they call them, which is basically they study translation, and they translate texts in different languages. So you have to talk in three languages to be able to go there. And basically, you see that, and like there's not just like the aspect of like a good read, like a boy and academic studies. It's not about that, but it's also a lot about a lot of things. And you see how him and his friends are treated differently just because of their race and their gender. For example, there's these two young girls with them, and they're treated differently because they're women, and they're also treated differently because they're not from England. So he is from China and he has another friend who is Indian, and you see like how they are treated differently than the others, like the racism they face through their academic challenges. But there's also a lot of other challenges that they gonna face, I guess. But I haven't finished the book yet, so I'm gonna keep you updated, maybe, but I really enjoy it. So now let's talk about my favorite books. Some of my favorite books, or books I enjoyed. Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edgar Allan Poe. This is a collection of his short stories, and they're all like haunting and, as the title suggests, they're mysteries and they have a little bit of crime, and I guess Edgar Allan Poe does it really well and he knows how to write in that way. And I think his books are all, not his books, but his stories are all very mysterious and haunting, and there's a sense of like you never really quite know what is going on, but it's so enjoyable. Like you can't stop reading, especially like in short story form. It's so easy to get sucked in the story, but it ends so fast. Just want more of the details of the stories, and I think he does this super well. And like his stories, he's like no short of mysteries in his life. We know that Edgar Allan Poe had a really mysterious death. We still don't know the reason. Like some say it's alcohol, some say it was like smoking, some say he was killed by like in the road, like he was found in the road just sleeping there, dead, lying there. And I think I wouldn't say it's beautiful. Obviously, it's devastating that he died like that. But it's still a man of mystery who wrote mystery, and it's just something about it. Just it's haunting. It makes you read more of his books, and I really recommend this book. I pick it up with me, and I like to read. Like I pick one story each time, and I like to read it before bed, when I wake up sometimes, when I travel, before school, and it's really like easy. Yeah. maybe I'll read something from this. Um, Something I really enjoyed. I've read the Golden Bug. It was one of the first stories here. Yeah, chapter 1, The Golden Bug. The style of the writing, and it's something that I aspire to write like. I want to write something like this because it's so beautiful. Why, to be frank, I felt somewhat annoyed by your evident suspicions touching my sanity, and so resolved to punish you quietly in my own way by a little bit of sober mystification. For this reason I swung the beetle, and for this reason I let it fall from the tree. An observation of yours about its great weight suggested the latter idea. Yes, I perceive. And now there is only one point which puzzles me. What are we to make of the skeletons found in the hall? That is a question I am no more able to answer than yourself. There seems, however, only one plausible way of accounting for them, and yet it is dreadful to believe in such atrocity as many suggestions would imply. It is clear that Kidd, if Kidd indeed secreted this treasure, which I doubt not, it is clear that he must have had assistance in the labor. But this labor concluded, he may have thought it expedient to remove all participants in his secret. Perhaps a couple of blows with a mattock were sufficient. While his coadjutors were busy in the pit, perhaps it required a dozen. Who shall tell? I don't know. I like it. So this is Tales of Mystery and Imagination. Next book I want to talk about is A Different Woman by Janine Boissard. I hope I said that right. I think the names are so hard to pronounce, especially when you don't know like the origin of the name or the author. But this book is such a great book. I was given this book by a friend who thought it was my vibes. And I'm glad I gave it a chance because it didn't seem like something I would read. But then I thought maybe why not just read it and see why was it something that they thought I would enjoy. And I really enjoyed it, and I read it like twice now, so I can like fully grasp the meaning of the book and the things that it wants to tell. And A Different Woman is the story of a woman who was married, had like a perfect life. She was married to a successful husband and had a beautiful daughter who was successful in school. But then she gets divorced, her husband cheats on her, and she's left with nothing. She had basically dedicated all her life for her husband. She she let go of her dreams of being a singer. She dedicated every waking morning to her husband's needs and her daughter's. She would wake up, she would just make food, try to like do everything that would please her husband. But then he cheats on her, and the reason was, when she asked him why, that the other woman was a woman, not like her. I guess because she got married to him in such a young age. There was like such a different age gap between the two. She always felt like a little girl. She always felt like she was one of his, like, he would call her and her daughter his little girls. So she was always like this little innocent, fragile girl, and I guess that struck her really. She never felt like a woman before. And basically this book is about her journey of finding herself and trying to find a way to live her life for herself. And she pursues her dreams, and she starts pursuing her like singing career and everything, something that she had to let go because her husband didn't want her to be a singer or like to sing. He would let her sing in parties and stuff, but he wouldn't want her to be a singer. So yeah, this story is like about being reborn, I guess, in a way. So I think a lot of you will enjoy it if you want like a story of empowerment of like a woman who just had a second chance in her life. A Different Woman by Janine Boissard. Next book, I guess. Oh, I forgot. let me read some passages from here. There's a lot of quotes actually, but since I've reread it, I've been trying to like flag it or tab them, and I haven't quite done that, but I would read some of the passages that struck me in this book. Okay. I guess one of these quotes, this quote is like in the first pages, and you can see how the dynamic of the family was. And this was truly heartbreaking, and it's so sad. For like context, this is the daughter talking to her mother, and yeah. And then there was Juliet, lively, strong-willed, outgoing, a gifted student as well as a fine athlete, the exact opposite of what I had been at her age. She was my pride and joy. When I grew up, she told me one day as she watched me arrange the table for a buffet, "I'm going to be a daddy." I stifled my laughter. "Why is that?" She went to the window, pulled back the drapes, and pressed her hands and forehead to the glass, "So I can be outside." I think this is so heartbreaking. When I read this, I don't know, it struck me. Like, I'm still young, so I don't really, like, relate to it into a deep level, but it still struck. And I think this is beautiful, and, like, such a good way to start a book, too. Like, I don't know, like, the first chapter, and it has, like, this beautiful passage that shows not only the dynamic of the book, but it's also like a foreshadowing of sorts. I don't know. I really liked it. This here. Okay. Next book that I wanted to talk about is one of my favorite books that I haven't read in such a long time, but I still hold it very dear in my heart, and I've read it so many times that I can't count it. And it was a book that I found one day in the supermarket actually, and what what I liked about the book is the cover. Obviously, I didn't know the book, I've never heard about it, and it's blue, which was my favorite color then, and there's like a lot of books, and it's called Words in Deep Blue, and I don't know, something about it like pulled me in, and I'm so glad I bought it because now it's one of my favorite books, and whenever I think about it, I want to tear up because it's such a story that struck me and that stayed deep in my heart, even though like I do not relate to anything in this book. But I think this is like the magic of books, and how even if you don't relate, you can live 100 lives just by reading the lines and like feeling such deep emotions, and like crying over characters and over words that are not even real. They're like work of fiction, but like you feel them and they hit you. Especially when like the book is written well or the story is really like well written. It's such a good thing. The story is about Henry and Rachel, two best friends who once were inseparable but now don't talk with each other anymore. And the reason why is that Rachel had a crush on Henry. She liked him, but Henry likes another girl who was the total opposite of Rachel, basically. And so Rachel moves away, and one day her brother dies or was killed by something, or by the one thing that he loved the most, which is the sea. He drowned at sea. So you see like this devastating thing that happened in Rachel's life, and how it affects her and her family dynamic, her mother, her father. Like they split up after that because of how devastating it was and how different their coping mechanism was. And she had to come back to live with her aunt, I think, in her old um, town, which is where Henry lives. And when he hears that she's back, he wants to talk with her again. And I guess it's like the start of this beautiful friendship. But throughout all the book, they don't know that Carl died. Carl is her older brother, and I don't know, it's so devastating. And there's so many things, I don't want to spoil it, but there's so many things in this book that just made me sob like a lot of nights. I spent a lot of nights sobbing over this book. And the beautiful thing that I really loved in this book is that Henry's family have a this library where there's like old books. Basically, they sell old books, and that store is basically their house, their home. They live there, they work there, they earn their money from there. And basically they have this section which I love, this section where there's like old books, and these books, the customer can come and write on it, leave notes in it. So basically the whole section is like filled with notes and love letters, and you can see people talking with each other and having a conversation in the margins, and I love that. And in the book, basically this book is I don't know if I said that, I don't think I said that, but it's a dual POV, so it's from Rachel's POV and Henry's POV, but you also read some of the notes or some of the conversation written in books. And I think in the book starts with a conversation that was in, let's see, I'm sorry. I think there's like a conversation in Pride and Prejudice. I don't remember if it's Pride and Prejudice or Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Yeah, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Basically, like, they're having a whole conversation in this book with not Henry, and it's like another love story. So there's like two love stories basically, and the second love story is really beautiful but heartbreaking at the end, and I really want you to read it. But let me get back to what I was saying. So basically there's like these notes and love stories and conversations in margins, and I really liked the idea that when I read this book, I read it so many times, and after so many reads I decided to annotate it. And when I did, I gave it to some of my friends that I really loved and just told them to annotate it. I know a lot of my friends were really worried. They're like, I don't want to write on your book and leave notes. But I was like, you can, and that's like the whole purpose. I wanted the book to be like, I liked the idea in the book so much that I wanted it in this book. So this book could be also like something that would have been in that library. So I gave them and they annotated it, and it's so beautiful how you can see like notes and how people thought about the same passages that you thought, and if they loved the same passages that you did love. And I really liked it. And some of the friends that I gifted this to, like, some of them I don't talk to very much these days, but I like to like think that I have a piece of them in here with me. Like, when I read this, it's so heartwarming. Like, some of them are like thanking me for being their friends, and like they didn't just annotate the book like I told them. They annotated the book. They left me messages and cute notes that I love. So this book, I really cherish this book a lot, and it's have been in my collection, and it would be in my collection forever, I hope. And I think I really recommend this book if you want a really good love story with a lot of like sentimental values, and like, it's not just a love story. It's not about just that. It's about heartbreak. It's about tragedy. It's about deaths. It's about love. It's about forgiving someone and having second chances and friendships. It's about a lot of things. And I really like it. And I really, really, really recommend it. Please read this book. I guess maybe I should read some passages from this. I guess there's like so many tabs that I don't even remember. I haven't like, I used to do like the things when I do blue this, but I didn't do this in this book, which is a little confusing to me. Also, I really wanted to say that if you buy this book, maybe try also the idea of giving your friends, some of your really dear friends to you, to annotate it, because I think it's really a good experience too. When you read the book again, you don't only read the book, but you also read words written by your friends and their analysis. And I think I really like that my friends were not like very shorts about it. Like they really wrote full on analysis, like in like sticky notes. Let me show you. Like basically, this is my notes. I emptied it here and here, and this is one of my friends, and this is another friend. Yeah, I wanted to read this passage from page 135 of Words in Deep Blue, and it's basically Henry and Rachel having a conversation. I really liked it. Okay. You never wanted to be a literature professor. You always wanted to work in the bookstore. I'll be poor, like my dad. Your dad's got two great kids in a bookstore. He might not be rich, but he's not poor. This will be actually the final book I talk about. I feel like I talk too much about books, and sometimes this could be quite annoying. I feel like, especially not having friends that relate to you and like the same things as you, is really hard when you want to talk about something that you really enjoy. And especially like this year and last year. Last year I didn't have quite much time to read. I had like my final exams and exams that would basically choose my future. And now I don't have much time either. It's very stressful. But still, I try to like fit in some reading time here and there. But I think when you have friends with you that really enjoy the same things as you, and you can talk and just yap about what you like about with them, it's really enjoyable. But I've been finding that really hard this year, like to talk with someone about something I really enjoy, especially books. Not a lot of my friends read books, and kind of this type of genre I like to read, or the books I read. Especially that I don't always pick up famous books. I like to like read the famous books, obviously, and like just trying to see where like what the hype about. But I really also like to thrift books and just pick up random books. And that is not always like a good thing when you want to talk about books with your friends, especially when they're not a reader. That's what I'm trying to say. So this channel, or like making videos like this, made me just, it's an outlet for me to just talk about what I like without feeling judged, I guess, or just with an audience that actually likes books, maybe. So the next book is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I think this is like one of the books that like everyone talks about. It's pretty famous, and it's like there's no one that haven't heard of this book, I think. I hope, because this is such a good book. Even like it's worth the hype. I really understand like everything. Like the hype that this book got, especially on Book Talk. I understand it, even though I feel like Book Talk hasn't talked about it in the right way. I think they all romanticize this book and take it as like this how can I say this, but as a guide how to be dark in the dark academia aesthetic, how to be someone who is pretentiously intelligent. Like they read book just to sound smart, and I think they took this book so wrong, because this book literally just criticizes those kind of people, and them taking it and making it a guide for them is like so funny to me. But also I feel like I would do the same. I love dark academia aesthetic, and I picked up the book for a reason. So I think I was at first like that, but then when I read the book, I found out that it's so much more than what I heard. And The Secret History is like one of the books that I really enjoy going back to. Especially, I like to listen to the audiobook read by Donna Tartt, and it's just so captivating. The story is really good. It's haunting. It's not scary per se, but I feel like it chills you in a way. And it's still in this college background, and it's really good. I think I really recommend it if you are someone who enjoys literature but also wants like a bit of a sarcastic critique over the literature world, but still like enjoy it and find some people that actually had such an eccentric way of living, such an eccentric, like such a weird way of taking what they learn and living fully in it. Like, they lived through what they learned. And in The Secret History, we follow Richard, who enrolls in this little small college in Vermont. He enters this group, or this class perhaps, that had 5 students already, and it was a really hard class to attend. And the students are really weird, and they're really eccentric, and they live really in a peculiar way, basically. And Richard starts to notice these weird things in this group, and how, like, it's not a normal group of friends that just study together. And the book ends up with them killing one of their friends, who is Bunny, or his actual name Edmund. And yeah, they make a plan and they kill him. And actually, the book starts with Bunny being dead, and I think that's like such an iconic thing to start with. And the way Donna Tartt wrote that, I think it's so haunting. I always go back to the audiobook to hear her saying it, because the way she like narrates the book or just reads it, it's really magical. So in the prologue, she says, "The snow in the mountains was melting, and Bunny had been dead for several weeks before we came to understand the gravity of our situation. He'd been dead for 10 days before they found him, you know. It was one of the biggest manhunts in Vermont history. State troopers, the FBI, even an army helicopter. The college closed, the dye factory in Hampton shut down. People coming from New Hampshire, upstate New York, as far away as Boston." Anyways, yeah. Basically, they made the plan and killed one of them. And it's just, the book starts with Bunny being dead, and then we relive the moments from the start to the end, and how they came to such a decision and such a plan. And throughout all the book, Richard is such an unreliable narrator. Like, we cannot trust him. In this book, it's like we as readers, we do not know more than the narrator, or we do not know a lot as we would hope for. And I think it's really haunting, it's really dark, but it's really also beautiful. And that's why I think a lot of people took it as an aesthetic and a basically a guidebook of how to be like the students in here. And they're so how can you say it? They're so themselves. They're so themselves, and they love what they do, and they're just so high, and they act high, and they act above all society, because some of them have money, not like Richard. Richard is a poor guy, and he really tried very hard to like try to really live like them and just feel like he belongs in their group, even though I feel like he really did not belong. And even in some circumstances, like, you can clearly see that he was never like within their group, and how different he is. And yeah, I think it's a great book, and I really recommend it. Even if you hear a lot of people talking about it, and you may think it's really overrated, but it's not. I promise. Just read it. Maybe you will enjoy it. And there are some really good quotes in here. Let me see if I can read some for you, even if I read the prologue the first. Let's see. I think I liked the quote about beauty being better. Like, what is beauty? If beauty is better, then what is desire? Oh. It is a very Greek idea, and a very profound one. Beauty is better. Whatever we call beautiful, we quiver before it. And what could be more terrifying than beautiful? To soul, like the Greeks, or our own, than to lose control completely, to throw off the chains of being for an instant, to shatter the accidents of our mortal selves. Euripides, I'm sorry, I don't know about the names, speaks of the Maenads, head thrown back, throat to the star, more like deer than human being. To be absolutely free, one is quite capable, of course, of working out these destructive passions in more vulgar and less efficient ways. But how glorious to release them in a single burst, to sing, to scream, to dance barefoot in the woods in the dead of night, with no more awareness of mortality than an animal. These are powerful mysteries. the billowing of bulls, springs of honey bubbling from the ground. If we are strong enough in our souls, we can rip away the veil and look that naked, terrible beauty right in the face. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here. Basically, there's another thing. I feel like, where is it? Anyways, I recommend it. Read this book, and I guess these are all the books I talked about today. Let me just have them all in here. So, yeah, I guess these are all the books we talked about today, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Also, like, let me know if you want to hear like more book talk like this, and if you want to hear my updates on Babbel. I feel like even I would do it even if no one wants to. But like, I would update you guys on Babel, and see you guys in the next video. Hopefully not like months later. Bye bye.